thank you, Donnie, for setting this up, and thank you, Rob, and everyone at the CW for setting this up. This is a great opportunity as a broadcaster at WPTS. Like, this is awesome getting to talk to the media here in Pittsburgh, and I know you guys cover college football all across the nation. So, James, man, really respect everything you've done from being a linebacker at Florida to covering the ACC today. So, first question to kick things off here is, what inspired you to enter a career in broadcasting after your football career ended?
All right. Well, thanks for having me on. To be honest, as I sit here at the Gainesville airport getting ready to head up to Pittsburgh, I was in high school and I was a pretty good linebacker, and I knew I'd have a chance of playing somewhere. But everything for me, it was always football, football, football. My dad was a football coach my whole life. He coached in the NFL for a long time. He was a defensive coordinator and he coached in college. And my mom was a PE teacher. So everything for me was always making me a better linebacker. And I'm not complaining at all. I had a great childhood, and it sent me to the University of Florida and everything, but it never really was reading and how are your grades. It was just how much are you weighing? Did you lift and stuff like that? And so I wasn't really sure when I started getting these recruiting letters and questionnaires. I was like, gosh, I don't even know what I want to study. But I'm like, well, I love pets. So you know what? I want to be a vet. And then I realized how much biology and chemistry and all the schooling that I had to go through to do that. And at about the same time, I was down at Florida during spring practice. I went to high school in Tennessee, the same high school that Dolly Parton went to in East Tennessee, Sevier County High School. And I met a swimmer named Dara Torres, who you've probably heard of. She swam in 5 Olympics, and she had just graduated from UF and said that she majored in broadcasting, and it blew my mind because I loved everything, TV and just in producing these little films and everything before we could do it on our phones and everything. I'm like, what? You can do that? And so from that point on, that's what I wanted to do. I love being around sports, and I wanted to live out a dream of playing big time college football, and I got to do that. And I just knew that I always wanted to be around it. And I feel so fortunate, so blessed to be able to start another season and to go out and showcase and highlight these kids that are going out and buckling it up on Saturdays and playing big time college football and living out a dream. It really is a dream come true times two, because it wasn't just the football part. Now I get to still be around it.
You mentioned that you had a dream to pursue football, and you also had other thoughts about, different career aspirations. So what, ultimately did your career development look like once your athletic career ended and you tried to enter the media industry?
Well, I was lucky because I was on some pretty good football teams. At Florida, we won 4 straight SEC championships, and then my senior year, we won a national championship. So there were a lot of media folks around us all the time, and I, I liked a lot of those guys. I liked to, goof around and stuff. And so I guess I kind of became on the defensive side of the ball. I became their go-to guy kind of, and would have fun with it. And I enjoyed it. And when my football career was over with, I kind of, well, hey, I basically have all these connections, as at UF, we couldn't go and host the news. We couldn't do all the production classes that a lot of the regular students, or the NARPs, as they call them now, non-athletic regular people that go to school. No, we couldn't do all those classes. So, I had to get my experience and network and build my connections elsewhere. And I guess I just did it kind of through football. And so because of that, I had a lot of connections and got a lot of early work doing sidelines high school football, game of the week and stuff like that. It was Sunshine Network at the time down here in Florida. So that's kind of it was an easy transition over into, and I actually teach a class at the University of Florida now, a broadcasting class. This is my 8th year of teaching in my 16th semester, and I love it. I have so much fun with them. I really would do it for free. I really enjoy being around these students. And actually, Josh, something really cool about that class, 2 semesters ago, I had a student named Donovan McMillan, and he was a safety for the Gators. And he transferred, and now he's at Pitt. And I get to
Oh
call
wow.
his game. He was in my class 2 semesters ago, and I get to call his game on Saturday night. So I'm really excited. He's one of my all-time favorite students. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. I actually made him a shirt that I'm going to give to him on Saturday when I see him in pregame.
That's fantastic. And I also read that you're interested in art. So between, the art that you create, being a professor at Florida now, and then also calling games, how do you manage all of those passions and interests in your lifestyle?
Well, in a sense, I feel like they kind of all kind of tie together. When I teach, the one thing that I want my students to really take from my class is just to just kind of enjoy. And I tell them, when I turn on the TV, if I ever see you doing this dream job, you better ooze with appreciation. I better feel your energy. You better, because every now and then you see someone, you're like, what is this guy doing? Like, if he doesn't care, why should I care? Like, just going through the motions. And so just leading with your heart is kind of what I try to do. I mean, I get so excited to go call these games, and I treat every game like it's my Super Bowl, and I'm triple excited this year because we're on the CW, and now everybody will see it. In the past it was regional, and some would get it and some wouldn't, and now all of my family and friends and anybody that wants to watch can watch it, and I just enjoy I just enjoy kind of like passing along this fun information, exciting information, and showcasing these big events. But it all kind of making it yours, and approaching it and seeing it through a positive lens, and trying to make people smile, trying to make people feel good, and that's the same with my art. I'm a self-taught artist, and I just I just knew that I kind of needed to create. I've always been creative, but I never really took art classes. Again, because my dad was a football coach, and I'd show him a painting, he'd be like, "That's great. How much are you weighing?" And so it was never anything. But I just painted more and more and more. I did a couple movies a few years ago, and one of them was down in Miami, and I went into these art galleries down near South Beach, and I was just blown away. And I just had to have art like this in my house, and I had just done like really one of my first paintings, and just kind of timed up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want colors like this and art like this in my house, but I couldn't afford it, so I just started building my own canvases, and kind of started first doing landscapes, but then I do a lot more folk art now, and oh, just kind of fun. Maybe some of it's like the lighter side, really, of sports and of football. I saying with football that buckle up your shit if you need to beep that or whatever. Buckle up your stuff because you're about to go hit someone, right? Hey, that's what. Hey, you guys better buckle up your because we're gonna go hit someone. And so I made these buckle up your stuff with a chin strap on it shirts, and I gave one to Narduzzi. And if anybody's going to appreciate that shirt, it's Narduzzi, because he's a
Absolutely.
defensive guy. And I think if any head coach in the ACC, if I look out there, that's who I would want covering kickoffs on my team. It would be Pat Narduzzi.
That's incredible. I'm sure he that was right up his alley. So during your football career, you had quite the choices of schools to go to, Michigan, UCLA, Texas, to name a few. So why Florida? What really drew you to that school and ultimately led you to committing there?
Yeah, and Tennessee was a big one too. My dad played linebacker at Tennessee, and my high school was about 20 minutes from UT. And everybody in town thought that I'd, just for sure I'd be a volunteer, because, what guy with half a brain is going to go elsewhere when he can play for the Tennessee Vols? I mean, that's their love, and they're very passionate about that. But Steve Spurrier had just gotten to the University of Florida, and there was just a magical feeling about it. I mean, they were winning football games, and it looked fun, and really on your recruiting trip to Florida back then, they didn't recruit a lot of out-of-staters because they had so much talent down here in Florida. But when they did, Spurrier's big hook line was, shoot, you got all these people saving up their whole life trying to turn 60 and move down to Florida, and you got a chance to come right now, and you're just 18. I'm like, well, sign me up. Like, people don't go on spring break to Ohio; they come down to Florida. So it seemed like a cool place to be for a guy from out of state, and I really made the right decision. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you guys did a lot of winning there. What exactly made Steve Spurrier not just a great coach, but an effective coach that really turned that entire program into a powerhouse while you were there?
He is he's kind of like goofy and laid back acting, and he's always, he's got his one liners, but he is the most competitive person I've ever been around. I mean, it's you hear it all the time. Oh, he wouldn't let you beat him at checkers. I mean, that's really is him. Competitive as can be, and he loved calling ball plays, and he would draw them up on the dirt. I really didn't realize it so much at the time, but now the more people, the more you step back and look at it, what it meant for him to go to practice. And it was all up here. A lot of coaches will spend all day, and their GAs will spend all day scripting practice. Okay, we need to see this look on 3rd and 7. We need to see this look. We need to practice against it. This is what we're expecting to get. And Spurrier would never script practice. He would just go out there and to the scout team defense, he'd be like, show me cover 2 over there. And he'd draw, hey, Danny, we're going to do this. And Riedell's going to run a little corner here. Just you hit it to him. And he was just drawing it up in the dirt. And he just, the term offensive genius maybe gets thrown around a lot, but he was one of the pioneers of slinging it around, and truly was. I mean, if he wasn't an offensive genius, I don't know what is. And that coupled with the fact that he was so competitive, it was just the perfect match. And then defensively, we had some fun defenses, some fast defenses, and a lot of playmakers, and we had a lot of fun.
No doubt about it. I'm sure one of the highlights is winning the national championship in 1996. Take me through what that feeling was like, an accomplishment that just so few people get to experience.
It, we had come so close the year before. We made it to the national championship game in the Fiesta Bowl against Nebraska, and we just got hammered out there in the desert. I mean, Tommy Frazier, Lawrence Phillips, and those guys. I mean, they just took it to us. And so, to make it that far, and to not finish it off was it just left a terrible taste in our mouths. And so, our freshman class of '92, we were seniors in '96. We set out from that day forward. I mean, I feel like we always worked hard, but we worked extra hard. We made sure everybody was doing their thing, and we made sure we'd make the most out of every game. And still, even then, you don't know that it's going to happen, because a lot of things have to line up. You have to stay healthy and all this, but we just, stars aligned. And again, Coach Spurrier was so confident, and therefore we were so confident. We expected to win an SEC. I mean, that was, the foregone conclusion. We knew we were going to win the SEC, and that would make it 4 in a row. But could we make it to the national championship game, and could we win that? And because that's truly all I ever dreamed of. I mean, a lot of kids will grow up dreaming of playing in the NFL, and sure, I would have liked to have had a little bit longer career in the NFL than I did. But when I was junior high on, all I wanted to do was just play in the big one in college football, and stars aligned. And fortunately, I got a chance to do that.
No doubt about it. That's incredible. So you mentioned, you had a brief stint in the NFL. It can be tough to talk about, but ultimately, what wound up being the factors that led you into deciding to end your athletic career and then make that next step and transition into, a media personality that you are today?
Well, it has to end at some point, for everybody. Some people it's high school, some people it's college, and some people it's after a 15-year career in the NFL. And so it was just time to go do the next thing, and the next thing was what I studied and what I set out to do. So and jump into the broadcasting, and and I thought originally, oh gosh, I'll just call all these football games. I like football. I'm a football player. I'm going to call football games. And, little did I know there would be a whole lot of, paintball and BMX stuff on ESPN, and cheerleading and drag racing, and, just all those things of getting my reps, and all fun. And it's fun. Thanks.
Ah, man, the feed is cutting in and out a little bit. I understand that you seem to be walking into the airport. I don't know how much time you have left. I do have a couple more questions, but you know, if the feed isn't gonna work out, then we might have to end it soon. But I'll just keep it going for a little bit longer.
Okay, can you hear me right now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. It's a little
Josh,
better
can you hear
now.
me?
Yeah.
Okay. You got one more because I got to go through security.
Okay, sure thing. You know, looking at the college football landscape today, what has changed the most since you were a player versus now being a color commentator?
Oh, these kids that when I fill out my charts, even from 2 years ago, it's changed. I mean, it seems like worlds away back in the mid '90s when I was playing. When you try to compare, but even from a couple years ago, when I'm filling out my charts the last couple days for Cincinnati and Pitt, and it's just okay. I always go down these rabbit holes of like I love to find out more. Oh, I don't know much about this kid's high school. Let me go read up on his high school. Oh, wow, look at that. That's where Dolly Parton went to school or whatever. And I just and 20 minutes later, after listening to Dolly Parton songs and all this, I'm finally back to my charts. But so I would high school, but now it just seems like almost half of them there's another college or two other colleges that they played at before that, and then you kind of go and find out how they did there. And it's just and that to me would be the one thing that jumps out that's so different. And I think it would make it different for these locker rooms as well. I talked about being on those Florida Gator football teams earlier, and those freshman brothers, we were all close as Gators, but your freshman brothers were your guys. I mean, you'd get in all these arguments with the class of '93 or '94 about who's the best, but you'd always have your freshman brothers' backs. And so I don't know that still really matters that much. Like to kind of when hey, I wasn't quite good enough to start this year, so I'm going to work extra hard and I'm going to get on the field next year. But a lot of times now, you know what, I'm out of here. They're not using me right. So I miss that. And I hope that these young men, that they are spending as much time with one another and building the friendships and the bond with one another that we had. And it's not just on the transfer end, but it's on the phones, stuff like that. I hope that they are able to put the phones down and really to get to know one another. And it really is special to have those bonds and to have those friendships that are built when you're a part of a football team like that.
Thank you so much for your answers, for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I really appreciated this. So it was great getting to talk to you, James. Best of luck, calling the rest of the season and, working down in Florida. And I wish you and your family the best.
Thanks so much, Josh. I enjoyed it. And come by and see me in the booth on Saturday if you're up there.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, James.
You
Travel
guys.
safe.
All right. See you, man.